You might think it's geared towards salespeople, but I promise there's a correlation. Hang on. Yeah. I usually turn my sound off so people can't hear what I'm listening to.
Hi, my name is James Ashford, business coach and rocker of world. And what I want to talk about today is something that's had a huge effect on my life and has a big impact on my clients' life and especially on their teams that they have in their businesses. And it's all about an above or below the line attitude. I don't know if you've come across this before, but basically above the line is all about ownership, acceptance and responsibility. And below the line is blame, excuses and denial. And it comes down to where is your response? Does your attitude lie? Is it an above the line or a below the line response? Now, the most important one above the line for me is responsibility. By accepting responsibility for everything, it means that you are able to respond. Let me say that again. By accepting responsibility, it puts you in a position where you are able to respond. And this is a very powerful position. It means that we can do something about it. Whatever we're blaming other people, making excuses or denying that it's happening, it keeps us out of power. It makes us a victim. It means that we can do nothing about it at all. And while it's nice to think that you're an above the line kind of guy or kind of gal, very often it's easy to creep below the line. Let me give you a couple of examples. I was working with a client recently and they were trying to make some sales. And when I was speaking to him, he says, you know what, the client, they're just not getting back to me. I'm not making the sales because they're not getting back to me. Now, straight away, I can say this is that an above the line or below the line response. Well, it's a below the line because you're blaming the customer. They've not got back to me. Let's take it above the line, okay? Taking that same response above the line is, I've not got back to them. Now, as soon as you say I've not got back to them, it puts you in a position of control, which means you can get back to them. You can do something about it. The same guy was talking to me and he says, yeah, I've not made as many sales because the customers just can't buy, they couldn't afford it. Yeah, take it above the line again, mate. Listen, taking it above the line means how can you help them to afford it? How can you help them to purchase your products? What finance deals can you put in place? As soon as you accept responsibility for everything that's happening, it means that you are able to do something about it. Listen, nothing is happening to you. Everything is happening because of you. And as soon as you accept that one fact, it means that you can start taking control of your life and taking control of everything that is happening to you. Now go to my website, jamesashford.com,
Don't go to
the
his
resources
website.
section.
It's super
And
weird.
I've created this above the line and below the line poster for you. Download, it's a completely free thing. Get it.
So I know he's obviously Australian, so he's got the heavy accent. But really, you know, there's a book that I read. There's a lot of leadership stuff about it and things like that. But really, when you break down having an above the line or a below the line mindset, it comes down to above the line, meaning you're going to take ownership. You're going to hold yourself accountable to the task at hand, and you're going to be responsible. You're going to take responsibility for it. I think one of the coolest things about Crown Hill that I've told Mike and I've told Shannon is that we have so many people that have so many different roles. You know, coming from a smaller location, I have put boots on and I did fill a grave, and I have, you know, helped set vaults and do things like that. I have done blind checks. I've dug through file rooms like I've lost files. No, I didn't lose files. I didn't lose files. I've never been a funeral director, but I've taken first calls and I've done things like that. And then you come to a place like this and we have so many people that are in place and we have so many roles. And the most important thing in terms of our culture is to take responsibility for what it is our role is. I tell our sales team, and I would hope if I put one of them on the spot, they would tell me what their job is. You think they're good? You think they can do it? Bruce, what's your job?
Getting in front of families.
How many times?
2 times.
2 a day.
10 a
Luis,
week.
what's the next part of your job?
25% not met with.
25% or less not met with in your ACVs. What's your outcome, Janet?
51.
51,000 a month. That's our pace setter. That's our quota. So my sales team is inclined to know their job, and everybody here has a role, and everybody's role is so very important. And then when you look at something like this, what you can kind of take a peek at, I don't know if any of you have seen this, but in every event in life, E plus R equals O. Luis is laughing because I've already said all of this to him. He could have left. He didn't have to be here. I've only got so many tricks. Don't worry, guys. Like, you won't see me again for the rest of the year. But in any given situation, 10% is what happens and 90% is how we respond to it. The only thing that we can control is the R. E plus R equals O. And what we do sometimes, especially at Crown, or the velocity, that's a word that I hear thrown around here a lot. The velocity of everything just comes at you faster. The event comes faster. There's more going on. And what happens is we end up reacting instead of responding. And so when we take an above-the-line mindset and we have an above-the-line culture, we are holding ourselves accountable to our job. And instead of reacting, because typically when we react, what kind of responses do we have? Negative, right, Alejandro? Negative. We're typically, I'm victim. I do it too, guys. So this isn't me preaching or anything like that. I blame other people. It's a lot easier to blame other people when you react. When when push comes to shove, if you hold my feet to the fire and say, well, no, that was their job, right? But if you took a step back and thought, what are we trying? The overall mission of Crown Hill, what are we trying to accomplish? Serving families, right? We're trying to serve families. And so it doesn't matter what role you're in, we're all serving this greater mission of serving families and service excellence, right? And meeting at the highest level possible. And it doesn't matter if you're, if you're in the file room. Sorry, Walt, I just looked over there and saw you. That's how that works. If you're the general manager, if you're working at the front desk, if you're doing blind checks and lead-ins, if you're a service director, if you're a funeral director, if you're grounds crew, if you're family service, it doesn't matter. All of us are working towards this same goal. Right? We're all working towards serving families very well. And we all have to take responsibility for what our role is in that. Does that make sense? So when we go back and look at this other screen, I've heard it called a victim mindset. You see it over there. But blame and excuse and denial. Right? And it's that victim mindset. Everything is happening to me. Things aren't happening because of me, but things are happening to me. Well, this sucks. It's happening to me. Sorry. It sucks. Not appropriate. I'm like almost a professional. I'm getting there. But if this stinks and this is happening to me, there's nothing I can do about it. And I had a baseball coach in college, and he always told me, you control what you can control. You can always control your attitude. You can always control your effort, and you can always control your response to how you do things. So what Mike and I have talked about is, I believe that everybody in this room is great. I firmly believe that. I believe everybody in this room has the ability to be great. But the direction that we're going is, if you have an above-the-line mindset and you take ownership of what you're trying to do and you hold yourself accountable to doing your job, we're not going to ask anybody to do things that we don't think they're capable of doing. That wouldn't be fair. If you ask me to go work in the prep room, that is not serving families at a high level. I will not do well there. I promise you. I won't do it. I'll just quit. It scares me. It gives me the heebie-jeebies and it scares me, right? But if we all have a role and we all have a spot where we hold ourselves accountable to doing our job to the best of our ability, does it mean we'll be perfect every single time? Bruce, you've heard me say this? No, it doesn't. But when I talk about building a team, and when I look at the team in the room, I want to surround myself with people that are moving the same direction, that are pushing the rock the same direction, that are climbing the mountain in the same direction. And I believe that having an above-the-line mindset and having that as our culture, where I'm going to take ownership, what can I do to positively impact the situation, instead of lamenting and saying, well, this is happening to me and it's so-and-so's fault, or this is going wrong, or like you heard in the video, I tell the sales team, no, they can't buy it because they can't afford it, right? Well, funeral directors, family service, is Dignity ever, is Crown Hill ever the cheap option? No, we're never the low-cost option. We're always the low-risk option, right? So how do you find something that fits that family's budget and makes it important? Then, as I think about this and as I think about a team, I'm going to read a quote for you real quick, and it's from Martin Luther King. And I think I'm a reader, so that's where I get a lot of this stuff. But he says, if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets, even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. And I think that's so very relevant when you take a look at this and what we're trying to go to. It doesn't matter what role you have. There's no role that's more important or less important than anybody else. It starts from a first call, right? It starts the very first time that family hears someone representing our company on the other side of the phone, and it goes all the way through an ACV. And that includes every single person in this room has a hand in that process. Whether it's a first call, whether it's making arrangements, whether it's prep, well, we don't have any cares people here, but whether it's the preparation, whether it's the actual service itself, whether it's what the grounds look like. These guys are the unsung heroes of the cemetery. They don't get nearly enough praise. We can't sell the cemetery without those guys. So I give those guys kudos. Because I know that team doesn't get praise. I know because I can tell by how they're all looking at me. I've seen that look. I've seen that grounds crew look before. But I know for a fact that I can't sell something that doesn't look good. I know that our funeral directors can't take a family through the funeral home, and we've done great things over there, but we can't take them through a dirty funeral home and be like, oh, don't worry, guys, this isn't what it normally looks like, right? And we have a cleaning staff. Diane back there does a fantastic job. Thank you. Larry found out that I really like elephants, and then he hung that elephant for me. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate you. But what you guys have to remember is it doesn't matter how big or small you in your head think your role is, right? I think Lori is my favorite person because I can't tell you how many services I stood at Highland where I was like freezing cold or I was out there for 5 hours or something like that, and then all of a sudden Lori goes, no, Tom, you don't have to do that. Terry goes, no, Tom, I do that for you. And I went, really? Is there a trick here? Is this like a gotcha moment? But what I'm saying, guys, is we have the team. We have the people in place. And everybody has the ability to have an above-the-line mindset. And you can make that choice. The direction that we're going is that if you have an above-the-line mindset, there's a place for you on our team. I don't know. It might not be the role that you're sitting in right now. But if you have an above-the-line mindset, there's a place for you on our team. What we can't do is have a below-the-line mindset. If you are having a below-the-line mindset, one, that's a choice, that's a response, right? And we learned E plus R equals O. And the problem with it is it just takes one. It just takes one with a below-the-line mindset, that victim mentality, this is happening to me, not because of me. And the next thing I know, well, I'm telling Bruce, well, man, this is, blah, blah, blah. And I start grumbling. And then 2 people turns into 3 people because we all know Gene is one to grumble. He's quick. He's quick to just, we know Gene Lewis is just quick to join in anytime there's a gripe session, right? I know that's what that's the elephant in the room that nobody's addressing. Gene, thanks a lot. He told me he was going to heckle me when I got up here, so I had to throw the first punch. But, guys, what I want you to understand is if you have an above-the-line mindset, Mike and Shannon and Leanna and myself, we've all talked. Randy, we've talked. There's a spot for you. We'll find a spot for you. And when we do it, those are the people that I want to go to work with. I'm a huge believer that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of time here. How many of you spend probably more time here than you do with your family? Fair statement, right? Just an intention statement. Did you see that? Did you catch that? Yeah. I spend more time here than I do with my family. So if we have people in this team that aren't lifting our averages up and pushing each other to be better, to strive for more, and holding ourselves accountable to the team, then are you bringing us down or are you bringing us above the line? Would be the question, right? And like I said, I'm a believer in teams. I know that we can't do anything without anybody else. And I know that it's hard. Trust me, I've been on the other side of a phone call from a family who didn't like anything, and I've been yelled at for an hour, and I've been screamed at, and I've been told I'm a terrible person and everything like that. 9 times out of 10, the family want to be, some of it was from Becky, actually. 9 times out of 10, the family just wants to be heard, and they just want us to take ownership of it. I own this one. I made a mistake. We're people. We're humans. We're going to make mistakes. If you believe in this, it doesn't mean that you're going to go 10 for 10. I believe it gives us a better shot because if you're taking ownership of every single step that's in your little role, right? In every little role that we have, if you're holding yourself accountable to it, I believe it gives us a better shot for 10 out of 10. But it doesn't guarantee that we'll be perfect. It doesn't guarantee that we won't make mistakes. But what it does is it guarantees that we'll come back from those mistakes. And we'll come back better. We'll learn from them and we'll come back better. If we start going down here and we start living below the line, we're not going to come back from mistakes. Our mistakes are going to compound into bigger mistakes. And I believe that anything that happens to you is an opportunity to learn and grow. So anything that happens to me is good. It might not be good in that moment, but I'll learn from it and I'll grow from it. And I'll learn from it and I'll grow from it because that's a response that I choose. And every single one of you can control your R. And you can control if you're reacting or if you're responding. And I believe that this team is capable of responding in every situation. And I believe that this team is capable of being the best location. But it doesn't start without a choice. And it's a choice that gets made every single day when you're in the location. So,
Great.
that's all I got.